Hello there, and welcome to That Time We Woke Up in a Podcast and Had to Explain Manga, our heated adventures overanalyzing manga that we find interesting, also called the Over Manga Cast. On this very nice episode of the show, we've read Monster Musume, chapters 1-17 by Okayado. Content warning ahead in case things get a bit too steamy. Enjoy the episode. Hello everyone, my name is Sam, and welcome back once again to the Over Manga Cast. And as always, here at the top of the show, well, we talked about what our familiarity with the franchise we read this week is. I don't know if any of us actually want to, admit to that. Do we want to tell on ourselves?
Sure, why not? So I bought this entire series at a Barnes & Noble because for some reason it was 3 for the price of 1.
Okay.
And due to the nature of this, the volumes were sealed, so I didn't get to read through it first, and I'm just like, what a good deal on manga! And I picked up a large majority of this series.
I did not know this. And, what did you do once you opened the package?
So I'm going to be completely honest. I think only the first 2 volumes have ever been opened. I now have a bunch of them still sealed because I never get rid of anything. That's why I don't buy physical manga anymore.
So that's Matt's familiarity. Mine is I watched 3 episodes of the anime, I think up to the point where Centaurea was introduced, and I'm like, man, I could just go to the internet and find something way more efficiently than this. And then I didn't watch anymore. Mm-hmm. And now here we are.
So, also, fun little side bit, the pilot for the series was a collection of one-shot hentai doujins, in case that wasn't obvious.
Indeed. I believe I had stumbled across those. Stumbled, obviously. Never sought out with intent. Jay, what's your experience with Monmu?
So, I too would see this quite frequently in my manga seller of choice, physical copies, and it would often be on sale. I don't know if perhaps I was actually able to find a loose copy of it, but I saw the first volume, picked it up, and paged through it, and I was just like, I don't know what I expected. Put it back down promptly, and then forgot about it. But that would not be my only encounter. Again, this is another cultural osmosis. I've been exposed to many of the characters, some solicited, some unsolicited.
Unsolicited exposure is a thing in this manga. So,
oh, yes.
At least it's thematic.
Yes. Solicited and unsolicited exposure is a thing in this manga, so very fitting.
So, that is all to say, I have been exposed to, or I have some familiarity with the manga, but I cannot say that I've ever willingly picked it up and consumed it before. So this was, I guess, a fresh read technically for me. Yeah.
Are you considering this time a willingful picking up and reading, or?
I'm still on the fence about this.
Okay. And then, as for me, this is actually something that I had heard of. This series, when its anime came out, was really popular and in the zeitgeist for a while. I remember distinctly watching the first episode. Sort of my immediate reaction was, that was competently made. And then I never really paid attention to it again until now. I will admit a level of morbid curiosity, but what Sam mentioned about being able to find what I'm looking for a lot more efficiently, yeah, that's sort of the reason why I've never bothered up until this point.
The internet is a beautiful thing. We open up our adventures in Monster Musume with, I forgot how just quickly this gets down to it, I suppose. We have our main character who has a name, but nobody remembers it, so he will be Darling-kun from this point forward.
He is referred to by a nickname by every one of the many, many female characters, and Darling is the most common one.
Even his superiors, which is just so confusing.
Yeah, including the government caseworker assigned to him refers to him as Darling-kun. It's so weird.
I'm not gonna lie. I don't know if Smith is actually with the government. I think she's just faking it really hard.
Fair.
She's just stumbling into
into success.
yeah, that wouldn't surprise me.
When we get around to it, we can also talk about whether or not the government's even involved in the insane deal they signed.
Yeah, but Darling is waking up to the beeping of his alarm clock and is wrapped in the embrace of a rather lovely woman in his bed. And he's trying to wake her up. And next page, wrapped in embrace indeed. She's got a snake body.
Lamia.
Yep, Lamia, and has constricted him wholly.
They use the snakes are cold-blooded, need body heat excuse a lot.
They sure do.
It's one of the better jokes of this series.
It's got some of those.
Yeah, one thing that is probably going to become very clear very quickly. Monmu is extremely inconsistent. There are some places where I very much enjoyed the experience. There were other places where I felt like I could find what I was looking for more efficiently through other channels. And then there were parts where I was not having fun, but that's what the review is for.
His attempts to get up and get the day started are thwarted because, I'll just run a hot bath for you so you can get heated up. No, I want you to warm me up, darling.
That's not fair at all.
He gets constricted, so we have to metaphor.
He has to free himself somehow. And
Or else he's gonna literally be crushed to death. So yeah. You know that.
So, she's a constrictor type snake then, and
So rude.
Okay, so here I come with the literary analysis again for even this thing. Of course I do.
Literary analysis. We're 2 pages in.
This is referencing something that ends up connecting to later elements, because like this is the standard trope of the male protagonist of the harem series gets beat up because something libacious happens, and they play that joke straight a lot. And it's not that they do it badly, but I will say one thing that I actually really liked is when they actually subverted the joke, because there are so many other cases where Mia the Lamia, all the names are extremely clever. Mia, there are a lot of cases where like Mia is actually the one who gets like, beat up by karma because she's being the idiot. And I really do feel like Monmu is at its best when it's doing the sort of like tropey, hilarious punishments on her rather than poor Darling-kun, who is very tropey as far as protagonists of series like this go, but well enough written that I couldn't help but like him. So seeing him get hurt a lot was, I mean, not unfunny, but it was funnier when someone who really deserved it was the one getting it instead.
Indeed.
And
but,
Mia just gets run over by karma, though. That's not.
She does.
She does not deserve the situation she's in.
No, not
she's
at all.
at the end of our reading.
Yeah, I mean, I fluctuate between feeling sorry for Mia and also hating Mia.
Yeah.
Well, basically what it comes down to is, does she deserve as bad as she gets? Probably not, but like it is like dialed up to 30 for comedy's sake, and it's something that later in our reading started happening more, where the comedy was plumbed from Mia getting punished rather than Darling-kun getting punished, which I thought was a lot funnier, because a lot of times Mia deserves it.
Poor Darling does not deserve half the shit he gets, or even 90% of it.
Yeah, most of it.
Poor man just wants to get out of bed, and he's getting constricted to death by his not girlfriend.
I will say, though, one nice thing, and this is why I say he's a well-written, in spite of being a very tropey version of this type of protagonist, he has a pulse. He understands the situation he's in, and he understands the benefits of the situation he's in. He's not a jerk about it, but he's not gonna complain when Mia's shirt hikes up a little bit too much during the constriction. So it's like, he has a personality. He's not a piece of cardboard like the worst version of this, like the poorly written version of this trope is.
He's not like the main guy from 100 Girlfriends who's just like, yes, I am the perfect boyfriend.
Yeah, no, he's not dense as a neutron star. Well, his bones might be, for how often he gets
crushed and beaten, yeah.
Yeah.
Because, again, they do play that joke straight pretty regularly.
Mm-hmm. But apparently the tip of the Lamia's tail is their weak point, and grabbing desperately for something to escape the constriction forces Mia to relax, we'll say.
The exact joke that you're expecting proceeds to happen.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of that.
Just saying, if for some reason you're one of those weirdos who doesn't believe a female orgasm exists, you won't understand most of Monster Musume.
Yeah, correct.
No comment.
It's not worth going through all of the exact jokes, because then we basically get another version of the same sketch as the rest of this chapter until we decide to start world building in gigantic air quotes.
Yeah, we'd be here all day otherwise. Various other shenanigans happen, usually involving Mia getting her tits out, which she is most want to do around her darling.
There is a bit of fun in that this is, it doesn't like do the Tenchi Muyo thing of like everything is an accident or something untoward. There are a lot of cases where female cast of this series is very much DTF, and that usually is a thing that will, solve a lot of problems with like the skeezy elements of a story like this.
They around the same like generation, I think, actually.
No, this is more modern. Yeah, no, it unfortunately doesn't matter how DTF they are, because we get some world building about the nature of it is illegal, because there is through the stupidest reasoning ever. But Lamia are basically monster people, and they are part of a group called Liminals, which encompasses all monster people.
Who have apparently been unbeknownst to humanity for generations.
Yeah, I don't know where they're coming from, because they're clearly coming into Japan from somewhere. They don't tell you, but I guess it doesn't matter. But what I mentioned earlier, I started going on, we get a talk about how the treaty came about for them, where apparently the Japanese government signed a piece of paper saying that we will bring in a bunch of these liminals as like essentially foreign exchange students.
Why are they all female?
I don't think they are, is the thing. The ones we see are all female, but that's because this is an ecchi manga. But
Yeah.
I don't think that's the implication. There are female-only species.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the thing. There seems to be more monster girls than other kinds of monster people.
I feel like this is just someone's fetish that they're just, illustrating for us, but
Yes.
Daring psychological profile there.
Yeah, but what I'm going through is within the context of this universe, the Japanese government signed a piece of paper that said, we're cool having a bunch of liminals come over here as foreign exchange students, where basically they're not beholden to any of our laws. And as long as they do not harm a human, and a human does not harm them, which, okay, that makes sense. Can the police arrest them? No, that's harming. What?
Because diplomatic immunity in this universe works the way that it does in Lethal Weapon 2, apparently.
Where you can just walk up, shoot someone on the street going like, I'm from Germany, bitch.
Yeah, basically.
That literally happens later. That literally happens.
It's the logic given later is because liminals came out of nowhere and they had to start doing all of this bureaucratic diplomacy so quick. They just signed the first bill that came on, and I'm like, who made this treaty then? Because this is so insanely one-sided.
It's absolutely ludicrous. And apparently, even consensual coitus counts as breaching the contract, the treaty, and is liable to start an international incident. So,
yeah, because breaking the hymen's drawing blood, man.
I was gonna say, I mentioned I watched the first episode and lost interest in it very quickly, because the first episode makes it very explicitly clear it is that in specific that is the reason why they can't just screw. I'm not gonna lie, a part of me kind of wonders, would this series be better if they just let that happen? Like, it's so annoying.
That justification, now that we've said it, actually only happens in the first chapter, and every other time we see this get brought up, it seems to be just implied that it's illegal for liminals and humans to have sex with each other.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
Like,
why. That's why.
I think
outside of the bounds of marriage, which is another thing that comes up.
Because of course it does.
surprisingly quick too. Like it's chapter 3, I think.
Yeah, well, that's after we have the base harem established. So now we have to introduce marriage to the equation, and of course, monogamy only. We can't have them just poly up already. So
Hey! Don't diss my girl. We won't talk about her until she comes up, but she's my favorite.
Degenerates.
Oh man, we read Monster Musume. I guess we might be degenerates.
Yeah, some things might be discovered about ourselves. Who the fuck knew?
Oh yeah, the world building happens. This is given to us by, I think we mentioned her earlier, Agent Smith, as a woman with a female presenting person, I guess, because we actually don't get that confirmed.
Yeah, she is a part of basically the cultural exchange secret service.
She's the cultural exchange facilitator. She's the one who oversees and is supposed to be. I don't know if she is like the main person. I get the impression that she is just kind of like a mid-manager type thing.
I think she's the only one doing work.
Yeah, if this were based off of anything remotely realistic, she'd functionally be like a caseworker, but like it's Monster Musume.
But she has more administrative power than God. Like
that she doesn't do because she doesn't want to.
She seems to be in charge of all the liminal exchange students because she is the only like agent who shows up. And when we say agent, she is not a caseworker. She is basically an FBI agent. I think she has a gun. She
has a trank gun, which looks an awful lot like a real gun.
I think she also has a real gun because she shoots somebody with rubber bullets later, but it shockingly, it doesn't make a lot of sense if you put a lot of thought to it.
But apparently, Smith is so bad at her job that Darling never even signed up to be one of the host families, and she showed up with Mia anyway.
Oh, well, I guess you're doing this now. Excuse me?
Wasn't it an administrative error? Like she took Mia to the wrong address?
I do not trust anything Miss Smith says. I'm not gonna lie.
Look, it's fine. Mia likes it here, so she's staying. Now, coffee refill, please.
Yeah, she bums a lot of food and coffee off of Darling-kun. That seems to be her primary role in the story.
I mean, he's good for it, right? Does he get like a food stipend? He has to, right? He doesn't have time to like hold down a job.
Yeah.
with these ladies just lounging around his house.
Oh,
eating.
Yeah, because that's another thing is they say at this point that liminals are not allowed out in public without an escort. This comes up in the second chapter. That rule seems to not matter a lot at some point.
It matters only so far as to have Darling be involved in whatever shenanigans are taking place.
Characters will be caught in flagrant disregard of this rule, and people will just proceed to not care because this doesn't take itself very seriously to its benefit most of the time. If this thing was trying to take itself seriously, it would have been sunk by like page 4, so.
No, here's the thing. I will defend Monster Musume with this. It knows what it is, and it is never pretending to be anything else.
Yeah, exactly.
But
leaning into it.
We do have to take the world building at face value, and it is ridiculous, and I will not stop mocking it.
Yeah. It is perfectly reasonable to mock this stupid world building of Monmu. That's a feature, not a bug. If that's not what you're about, you will bounce off this series very quickly.
So anyway, the second chapter is when they go out in public, correct? And then they end up getting swarmed by the paparazzi, and then some people start. Oh, this is where we get introduced to my favorite side characters, the punks who love American things.
Yeah, that was so weird because like I spent like an inordinate amount of time just focusing on how they fit into not the plot, but just how they fit into like I thought they were tourists or something.
Yeah, I'm
or,
just
like,
saying
gangbangers, but I'm just like, are they supposed to be Americana boos or are they supposed to be American tourists? You know,
I think they're Americaboos.
I think it's a bold choice to make the Americaboos the ones who are upset about a foreign species coming into Japanese society and essentially taking over things. It's real bold that it'd be those people who have a problem with it, because holy crap, is like this the entirety of Japanese society basically turned upside down for liminals. They go to places constantly are like, yeah, we've basically retrofitted it because most liminals are the sizes of horses, so we had to build our buildings to be the sizes of horses. I'm like, what?
I mean, not all the time, because there are plenty of places that they're like, oh, I'm sorry, this is not liminal, like, equipped.
Yeah.
They're in the process of changing things. Because again, this entire, like, country at least worth of liminals just came out of nowhere, and now, like, half of them are in Japan, I guess. So, like, the speed at which construction is done in this series is its own hilarious joke. And I mean, like, intentionally and internally, it's played as a joke, but like,
I'm just saying that if there were to be a portal or whatever that would open up into an alternate dimension, I would pretty much bank on it happening in Japan. It would just be like, yeah, this is happening right now. Kind of like, you know, the whole giant.
Fortunately, that did happen. There's actually a documentary about it, and how nationalistic Japanese Special Defense Force
Yeah, I saw that documentary. It was great.
Use superior technology to colonize.
I mean, Japan is pretty much, as we already know, put itself on the map of like, if weird crap happens, we're calling Japan. Japan has already thought about how their response plan would be.
Remind me never to read Gate.
You got it. I'll keep that in mind.
I wasn't going to suggest it.
So, yeah, next week we'll be reading Gate.
No.
The Americanaboos get introduced, who are basically just punks that hate liminals, and they start harassing Mia, and Darling-kun eventually has to step in because she is not allowed to hit them, because that would create an international incident, I guess, except in the situations where she is allowed to do that. So Darling steps in the way, gets slapped in the face with her tail, and then proceeds to deck the guy.
Yeah, well, he decks the guy after they go to hide from the paparazzi and the racists in a love hotel. Mia seems blissfully unaware of this.
I don't. I think
know about that.
She's just real into it.
She's probably just playing it up, yeah. Asking if the condom is a gummy lifesaver, etc., etc.
And then, of course, the door gets kicked in by Miss Smith, because the only time she can ever be competent at something is when she's misunderstanding the situation and screwing everything up.
Yeah, that's what I was saying, though, is like, that's why I think it's more like, oh man, interspecies relations are illegal in Japan. You know, they probably should be, now that I've said that sentence out loud.
I'm gonna leave that one as it lie.
Yeah, but yeah, they kick down the door. They go to arrest him, and Smith is like, "Oh, that isn't Darling-kun. What are you doing here? We heard that some pervert was taking a liminal to a love hotel. How did you know that? Oh, I saw it on Twitter."
The best part is the actual delivery of the joke is, what, have you underestimated the intelligence gathering abilities of it? Nah, I'm not. I can't even lie. I saw it on Twitter. Like, even she knows how incompetent she is, and she doesn't care.
But Darling does punch the racist in the face with great violence.
He breaks his own wrist.
Yeah. And apparently Smith did some weird like government secret power to not have charges be pressed.
I think human on human assault they just don't care about.
Yeah.
That might not even be illegal.
That does seem to be what the series is implying.
A hard case for I punched someone harassing me. Like, that's technically illegal, but good luck getting a police officer to care enough to be like, oh yeah.
Mia is very grateful for being saved, and everything returns to its usual position, I suppose.
Poor choice of words, but let's move on.
It plays out the way that you expect. It is important to point out that they do a decent job of actually giving Darling-kun enough of a personality and the girls enough of a reason to actually care about him. Like, this series does put in the legwork again, phrasing, but it does actually put in the work to justify itself internally. So I appreciate that when I see it in a series, even a series like this one.
I think where I kind of like bristle is just like there's no context as to why necessarily the liminals kind of feel this way. Like it just comes out of like left field for me, I guess. You know what I mean? Like just Mia kind of expresses, like prior to her participation in the program, she studied Japanese and Japanese culture for like several years and everything. I understand that, but I'm just like, where the hell? Like, one of the characters actually has an explanation of why they have like all this pent up sexual energy, but Mia, not so much. It just kind of comes out of left field.
I think she's just thirsty. Like I think that's where that comes from. Because the idea of like romance is established, but yeah, this is an ecchi series, so of course everyone's throwing themselves at the harem protagonist.
She's cold-blooded. She needs to go get that body heat.
Yeah, and also I don't want to name names, but that is a thing of foreign exchange students.
I mean, yeah.
Currently, we have only 2 female characters, and only one of them is technically in the harem. This is a harem series, right? Let's get a move on with that.
I don't think so yet. I have to do some more research.
Yeah, so obviously we need to start with introducing a new girl. So Darling and Mia are going about their everyday lives, and suddenly he is snatched off of the balcony by a bird girl. We have
this chapter is so bad.
It is bad. It is really bad.
This plot is literally just an excuse for ass shots. Like,
I mean, I was about to say, like, what plot are you talking about? Plot.
It's literally Harpy Girl kidnaps Darling, is basically chased by she doesn't understand that humans don't bathe in fountains, so she strips naked to go into a fountain. Gets yelled at to put her clothes back on. Can't put her clothes back on, can only take them off with her wings.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's how she gets the name of Bird Brain. She quite literally is that caricature.
Yeah,
her that's her gimmick. Svelte body for flying, and
yeah, but I think Matt was trying to ask then who put the clothes on her.
No, that's the thing. She can't put her own clothes on, so I don't
Someone
know.
put clothes on this girl, and we need to figure out who it was.
So Darling attempts to distract her with ice cream, and he got a popsicle, and
it immediately goes to the joke that you're thinking.
It doubles down on that joke too. I was reading, going like, "Oh my god, this is still going on."
It's a whole page.
Yeah, it's a whole thing. And because we need to endear the new girl to the audience, a girl gets caught up in a tree, but because her wings are wet, she can't fly. So Mia has to climb up, but then drops the girl, and then she can fly, and the bird girl catches the falling girl. I don't know what I'm talking about anymore. It doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't make any sense now.
Yeah, falling girl is scared of Mia because Snake. Pappy manages to jump enough to like break the fall, and then Darling breaks the fall as well, and more ass shots.
Breaks Mia's fall. So
my favorite bit is Mrs. Smith comes in, or Agent Smith, I should say, comes in and is just like, oh, by the way, she ran away from her host family, so now she's your problem. Also, she is the same age of Mia, so no problems there. Let's go.
I love how that's a constant trope of like everyone thinks because she is, not so endowed as Mia and several of the other girls. She is constantly, likened to be a little kid, and she must constantly assert, no, she's the same age as all of you.
Because it's checking a box.
Yeah, and also I do want to clarify, like, they literally mean just because she has a small cup size, she looks like a child. She does not in any other way.
Yeah, no, I will say,
this chapter is mostly butt shots.
Oh yeah,
and I will say, as far as this trope goes, I accept this version. I didn't really have a problem with Poppy as a character. If you gotta do this for checking the box, it's still relatively obvious that she is an adult and that the others are just infantilizing her, and that's not actually like she
I think
is.
they're just jealous because she doesn't have the back problems that they would
The
inevitably have.
rest of them do.
The rest of them inevitably will.
You might be right.
This is also where it's established that every time there's a new girl, the dialogue becomes nothing but puns about the type of like monster they are. Like there's so many like bird puns in Pappy's chapter. You really winged it, didn't you, darling?
It doesn't end.
Oh, a hand on the bird is worth two in the bush, or something like that.
That was a funny joke, and I know that had to be like almost entirely the translator going like, I got this.
Wordplay is hard to translate, but
now he's got two girls living with him, so he's regularly doing grocery runs. Poor darling. He's burning through so much of, well, presumably the government's money, so I don't know if...
Well, the government wants this program. They got to support it, and these girls can eat.
Yeah, I don't know if he's too broken up about that part.
Who's paying for this and how is neither funny nor sexy. So, funnily enough, the manga glosses over this. How about that?
Well, the only thing I think about is how many hours like he has to spend, because initially the girls don't cook. So it's like he's basically just cooking constantly, and occasionally when they get the urge to go outside, he's like, okay, I have to accompany you, and that's where all the shenanigans happens. But I mean, essentially his entire job is, well, as you might expect, just entertaining and cooking.
All right, but so let's take a look at the checklist so far. We've got
oh my god, that is part of, oh god, the checklist.
We've got Thirsty Girl, we've got Genki Girl. Now we need the big titty One-sama. Oh hey, a centaur girl running darling over in a crosswalk.
Yes, who legitimately treats him like royalty or nobility, because she is a noble steed. How dare he try to ride her?
She's also doing this on purpose, was my favorite part, because she read up on Japanese culture and is looking for a master. So she felt the way that star-crossed lovers find each other in Japanese society is running blindly through corners. So she's just been doing this all day and happened to hit him.
But I mean, like, I thought, like, looking for a master wasn't necessarily the aspect of Japanese culture. It was also part of their centaur culture.
No,
Yeah.
it's the centaur culture. She's doing the Japanese way of finding one.
Yeah, because she's a closet weeb.
Yeah, she is a closet weeb, and I respect that.
I knew I should have had a piece of toast in my mouth.
These strange Japanese magics, they're so hard to understand. No, you're just talking about manga tropes.
Yeah, she is well versed on the manga. She probably listens to this podcast, actually.
Yeah. Well, Centauria does have taste in a few regards, so probably.
Gotta stay read up. Yeah, what's going on?
Exactly.
So anyway, we need to kickstart this plot so purse snatching happens directly next to them. It's weird.
How about that?
There is the justification that happens is in the panel just before Centauria slams into Darling. He passes by a sign that says "Warning: multiple purse snatchings in this area," and that's it. This
manga knows what it is.
Yeah, no, it knows what it is and doesn't care. Yeah, someone is gonna ask where to hang the lampshade next. Like,
but Centauria is not about to let this asshole on a moped get away with a purse he snatched. So she goes to charge after him, but after a 30-second phone call, Smith was like, "No, she's your problem now. Anyway, I'm going back to sleep."
Yeah, because the big problem is she can't actually do anything to stop the purse snatcher, because any physical assault would get her deported. So she needs a human to come with her to do the physical assaulting. And unfortunately, in order to keep up with a moped, I guess that only leaves one option.
I mean, you are a horse. I'll just ride on your back and...
Whoa, it's crossing a line, man.
In centaur culture, yes, it is. Quite egregiously, as is explained later.
You just assume that because she's like part horse, you can just ride whatever you feel like?
But it's fine. She likes darlings. We're just gonna gloss over this part.
Oh, so just because she happens to like them, and that means that it's okay.
No,
okay.
It doesn't, Jay, but that's what the manga does. And so this is the world we're living in.
Literally pretty privilege here.
This is where it dips for me and where I stopped having fun.
I mean, here's the thing. they're the ones who added the weird consent thing. Like, it's their manga. They didn't need to put it in. It's only a problem because they mentioned it.
Yeah, they made it a problem. It's one of those ones where, like, this didn't have to happen. I wish it didn't. I would have enjoyed this manga a lot more. They move past this really uncomfortable thing fairly quickly, and then it comes up again later. So that's going to be fun to get to. This has some real, I'll just say it, peaks and troughs. Yes, phrasing. It's Monmu. It's episode 69. We're just going to go with it.
You knew what you signed up for when you clicked on this episode, and now we're delivering.
Yeah.
Yep. So we get a honestly pretty fun chase sequence of Centaur versus Moped. They crash through a bunch of large jugs, because of course they do.
Yeah, this manga really likes wet shirts a lot.
My favorite line isn't even from here, but it's is it Centauru? What's her name?
Centaurea.
Centaurea, where she's just like, it is not the centaur way to wear a bra, and that's obvious.
It is not the ecchi harem comedy manga way to wear a bra, because I don't think anybody does.
I'd worry about this girl's spine, but I don't actually know how her spine works, because it makes a weird 90-degree angle halfway through her body. So
yeah, because she's a horse. But there is the epic chase sequence concludes with Centaurea this entire time has had a sword that it concludes with Darling trying to hold on through this wild ride, ripping her shirt open, which
of course.
Yeah, which causes the purse snatcher to lose control of his moped and slam into I think
it's supposed to be paint cans.
Yeah.
It's the exact joke that you're thinking. And then there's something about the purse snatcher getting the sword, and oh no, dramatic cut as Darling-kun is cut with the sword. It was fake. Of course it was. You know.
I don't understand how that fake cut worked, because it would still hurt to be hit by a fake whatever it was made out of. The way the cut work seemed to imply that the sword passed through him because it was fake. This manga loves setting up like weird twist endings that you're just staring there going like, that doesn't make any sense. What?
Uh-huh.
Well,
yeah. Darling does say it still hurt like hell to get hit by it, but good thing it didn't have an edge. I think my shoulder is re-dislocated after Mia accidentally tore it out. They harp on a lot about the one time Mia dislocated his shoulder when, like, Papi and Centaurea have caused similar severe harm.
Look, Mia doesn't deserve it. Like, Mia just had, like, a cute, like, little, vacay away boyfriend who she was getting real serious with their time together, and then it gets drastically interrupted overnight for no reason. Like,
yeah. My favorite bit was Mia breaking down the door saying, "Darling, have you been out fighting more girlfriends?" No, we've already started part 2 of 100 Kanjuro.
100 Kanjuro, at the very least, starts with the premise that they're sharing him. Mia had her soul monogamy taken away from her.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's why, again, I'm torn between, like, I feel bad for her, but at the same time, I hate her.
Well, and I mean, here's the thing. There was very much a sense that Monmu very much started off as a lot more like, because it does all the typical jokes that you expect from a series like this. I feel that it found its footing when it realized we can just have Mia double down to a hilarious degree and then punish her for it, which is really funny. I wish they figured out to do that sooner, because then maybe they wouldn't have done some of the other things that they did. But that's, again, what the review is for.
Anyway, they've now got a centaur living with him, so the house needs to be remodeled again.
Thanks, government. Because, that's not coming out of his pocket. That's insane.
I'm pretty sure he started in an apartment, and now he's got, like, a ridiculously sized house. Because Mia is, like...
In downtown Tokyo, that's amazing. He's like... Well, aside from, having to entertain now 3 women who are quite...
He's downtown Tokyo, actually. I think that's one of the few things. I think he's Tokyo suburbs, really. Because there's not a lot of big buildings around him.
He needs it for the space, you see.
Because, I mean, Mia's over 7 meters long.
And also he's living with a person who is a human body on top of a horse's body. Centaurs are ridiculously huge.
Yes, just imagine, like, if you saw one, I mean, if centaurs were real and you saw one in real life, it would terrify the crap out of you. Like, honestly.
Yeah, people, I not for nothing, people forget how big real world regular horses are, and then you stand next to one, it's
talking to you, and you're just like, oh my god.
Talking to you, being extremely lustful about it. Wait a minute.
Considering how she stacks to the that was a terrible choice of words. Considering
she is very stacked.
She is a ridiculous cup size. But considering her height, she must actually be a very small horse because she's not that much taller than people.
She might be like a pony or a miniature.
Well, I mean, that's also the thing is centaurs aren't real, so you can just make the horse body smaller than a real horse. This, there, to the shock of everyone, there might be an element of fantasy in this series. I'm just saying.
This is actual. They actually took like proportions into account. So yes, this is pretty accurate.
They took proportions into account, and then they gave the cup size for most of the female characters. Sure.
These cup sizes do exist, but they do not look as they are portrayed in this manga. I just want everyone to know that.
I also noticed that. I'm like, they give Soraria's cup size. I'm like, that girl's beach balls. That's not what you just said.
Yeah, if you saw that in real life, you'd be concerned how she was still breathing. Like,
she's got horse lungs, Jay.
Yeah, that's how it works.
But anyway, so we've got the three main girls, and I think this is actually where Agent Smith brings in, hey, by the way, there's a new law about we're going to do a trial for human Lamia marriages. So if you want to get on the docket for that, that's on the table. And all the girls are like, oh, we can get married to Darling? And then they both have insane fantasies of not knowing who he is at all. It's great. Because,
this man that you've been living with, you don't know him at all. You don't know what he wants. You don't know anything.
Because Centauri has he's this dedicated gentleman with like a vest and glasses, and they have some kind of weird half human, half centaur baby, and I don't know how that picture works.
Half human and half centaur. What is that?
Yeah, I don't understand.
Oh no, a human with a horse tail. Calling it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But as soon as they hear that marriage is eligible, the next chapter is all of them in lingerie, except Pappy, who's just wearing an oversized t-shirt, chasing him down, like, darling, come on, let's get married. You can't run away anymore.
Yeah, one of the gimmicks that we haven't mentioned up to this point is each of the new girls introduced has a unique nickname for Darling-kun. The reason why we've been using Darling-kun as the only one that gets repeated is it's Darling from Mia and Darling-kun Agent Smith, who's
she heard Mia say it once,
basically mocking him.
Yeah, no, Poppy calls him boss, Centauria calls him master,
or milord. Because again, classic European knight sort of that's her gimmick.
And she's a horse.
As horse is known for being polite.
We get the explanation from Smith of like, yeah, now that we're doing this integration thing, marriage is bound to happen. Besides, Lamia and Harpies are female-only races, so they need to take human husbands at some point, which beggars
raises so many questions. I'm really scared to ask.
Yes. Actually, they all just clone each other.
A whole bunch of questions that we'd rather not think about.
No, they reproduce asexually. We already know this.
I don't think that's true.
I mean, it has to be, because obviously they've survived for generations without male husbands. They are a female-only race.
I think they reproduce with other male Lamia. Or liminals, not Lamia. Yeah. The fact those two are so close annoys me.
I feel like there may have been there was an idea that maybe got dropped, but I don't know. I don't want to spend too much brain power on this series. That's not what it's there for.
Yep. But Smith leaves them to their fate after explaining this. He goes, I feel like I forgot to mention something. Oh, well, next panel, shot of the full moon.
That's the excuse for this chapter. They don't act that different, by the way.
Yeah, they're just...
They claim it's more aggressive. The only one who really seems to have a noticeable difference is Centauria is the only one who acts like an actual human.
Yeah, like, if anything, the full moon just seems to make Darling-kun suddenly a prude. Like, he's suddenly against it. He's like, no.
Well, more against it. Yeah, because again, he's not written as a cardboard cutout, so more against it. Yeah, it's a weird chapter that this never comes up again for the rest of our reading. How about that?
It's almost like they're trying out different tropes to see what sticks.
They end the, like, full moon horny period with and then we decided to always go to bed early on full moons. The end.
Wait, why?
Cool. Because it makes them horny.
Oh, yes. Yes, the lunatic. Lunar cycle.
Wait. It makes their animal instincts go awry.
Or something.
And Darling is like, I seriously can't be involved in this, as there is a page of the three of them causing rampant destruction with their monster parts around him, and he's like, I will die.
He hides in the fridge at some point.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't blame him.
There's a metaphor in this somewhere.
I mean, between Pappy's talons, Mia's constrictor powers, and Centauria's a fucking horse.
Well,
I mean, yes.
Especially in this chapter. Is this the chapter we get my favorite joke in the series where they finally get, after like getting it through their systems, they finally go up to the Darling like, well, Darling, now that we've fought for you all night, what is your type? Oh, no, that's later.
Yeah, that is later. But the answer is legs. He is a leg man, which had to have destroyed poor Mia.
Again, I go between hating and like feeling really bad for her.
Well, no, because also Centauria doesn't have legs. She's got bony horse legs, and Pappy has talons. Like,
okay, Matt, we know for a fact from a later girl that he doesn't mind the odd-shaped animal legs.
Ooh, no, I think he thinks those are sexy lady legs, which in all fairness they are. Like, the way that those spider legs are drawn is...
Yeah.
But spoilers, people who didn't bother reading this manga for some reason.
Did you think there wouldn't be a spider girl? Come on.
I mean, I was hoping, because that was the only thing I was holding out for at this point.
Yeah, the Drider girl really into bondage, but she comes up later.
Like, as soon as marriage gets brought up, but boy, they're gonna have fun with this plot point for a chapter or two, and then there's gonna be some punchline about how it can't happen. Actually, the punchline's coming soon, right?
Hopefully, yeah.
And then they just it just kind of sits there, not doing anything for the rest of our reading.
Well, he decides to date each of the girls to figure out which one he wants to marry. Unfortunately, they keep adding new girls.
Yeah, the series gets sidetracked extremely quickly. I'm not surprised. I kind of expected that.
I don't know how it could have not been sidetracked unless you wanted to see a man fuck a snake for 20 chapters.
Which, I mean, as stated, if that's your thing, there's a more efficient way to get to that. The internet is an interesting place.
Clarify, we obviously mean a snake person, not a real snake. Get
yeah,
help.
fair point.
Mia decides she needs to be a traditionally good Japanese housewife because she's trying to outwife the other girls. And I'm like, there you go. If it's a competition to see who gets to be the wife, outwifing other people is how you do it, you know? So she is learning how to cook traditional Japanese food, but does not tell anyone that. And Darling mistakes it for Lamia cooking because it looks like death.
You gotta get the classic trope in of female character can't cook, etc., etc. It's a very tropey series. It usually plays it pretty well.
And then, because of that, while she's cooking, she burns her hands. And then her hands are wrapped completely in a cast made of bandages. Unless they're not when she needs to grip the pillow, but we'll get there. I say we'll get there. I don't want to talk about this more than we need to. She's shedding, but because her hands are bandaged up, she needs Darling to shed for her. But it's a very intimate thing for Lamia, even more intimate than not wearing clothes. And it is a very, very graphic rub down. This is
It gets weird fast to comedic effect. It is extremely uncomfortable, but it also is very funny.
Yeah.
It is legitimately just erotica, but it's also kind of funny. So like,
Yeah.
It
It sure is.
It treads a line I didn't know existed, but cool, I guess.
It's certainly unique. I appreciated it for that. I don't think I'll ever read that chapter again, but
Mia's still trying to cook in the next chapter after she burned her hands into oblivion. They've healed now. I mean, they healed during the chapter apparently, but
and then reburned, yeah.
Yeah, but then she's cooking again, and they're all sampling, and then there is a slime in
the pot.
There's a slime in the pot who
jumps on Mia's head and then leaves, I think, for some reason. I don't quite understand how anything in this manga works, I'm not gonna lie.
The slime girl has like 3 separate plots, and I forget what order they happen in. She's inside because it's raining, right?
I think so, yeah.
They do actually set up the slime lore earlier on than you think, but then it doesn't really matter. But it's so basically slimes absorb water and get bigger, but if they drink too much water, they get diluted. So they're like desired size is about the size of a human being. And obviously, because this is an ecchi series, they store the excess water in their boobs.
Because of course they do. Yeah, I think the big thing is if they're submerged in water or if they're in rain, they start to dissolve. Whereas, like, you know, they can also drink water relatively safely, but it's about as logical as the treaty that brought all these wackadoodles here. What a shock. It doesn't make a lot of sense.
Yeah, because the characters themselves are talking about the slime girl, and they seem to be of the opinion, does she count as part of the treaty? She does not appear to be sentient. Or sapient, I should say.
I mean, most of the early stuff in this chapter is just excuses to slime the various girls. It's
just excuses for wet t-shirt scenes.
By the end of the slime attacks Centuria and Darling in the bath, absorbing all of the water and sweat off of Darling and mimicking the washing actions.
Yeah, she does a lot of mimicking of other people. Eventually she gets kicked into the tub, and that's where they realize that she can get diluted enough that it like has the potential to break her down. But then
possibly kill her.
But then whilst Mia, Darling-kun, and Centauria are talking about this, they don't realize that Poppy is playing Wii with the slime.
She and Poppy have become best friends.
Well, why not? They're very playful individuals. Someone needs to liven the mood rather than just constant sexual tension. You know.
I'm just gonna say this right now. Slime Girl doesn't break any rules, so they've thrown that original rule out the window at this point in the series.
Well, what original rule?
Cause no harm.
There are several.
Yeah, she breaks all of them. I think the idea is they basically treat her as if she's an invasive species, and she is actually sapient, but they almost start treating her like a pet.
Well, she becomes sapient. I think there is actually a it's weird. It's weird.
It doesn't make a lot of sense.
No, it doesn't. Over the course of I think she has 3 series dedicated to her, right?
Yeah, 3 chapters or so.
Because what the other girls get on board with adopting her because they're like, oh, a cute little baby. It can be me and Darling and a baby, and they're like, ooh.
Yeah.
And then
she's
she absorbs
like our daughter.
Yeah, and then she absorbs a bunch of water in her boobs, and that illusion gets ruined quickly.
Oh yeah, her name is Sue, by the way.
Yeah, Poppy names her Sue. It's an onomatopoeia in Japanese, which is fitting for Poppy as a character. I will say, I do love the chapter where they hand wave the fact that, okay, there's another one. First of all, because there's a hilarious bit where there is an attractive designed female character in a wheelchair. You already know what the punchline of this is going to be. Don't worry, you're exactly right. But I love there's a bit with the Americaboos again.
My other favorite part is you're missing up this is happening because they send Sue away because they're worried she's gonna get deported, and Agent Smith keeps asking Darling about things because she's being real suspicious, and they think it's because she's after Sue. We find out that's not true, but we get a weird background story while Darling's doing this, where Sue is going after the individual monster girls and essentially orgasming them out of the story, as represented by flower petals falling.
Flower petals. That's the equivalent of the Bishi flakes.
I have never seen a plot more like 100 Conjuro than that, but
Yeah.
It's very similar to the whole Mia stress shedding thing. It is incredibly uncomfortable and very, very funny, in large part because of how uncomfortable it is.
Yeah, because the joke is she's desperate for any form of moisture, and that goes about as well as you think, except when the girls are aware of it and there's like this panic to like not I don't yeah, it's weird and funny from like a cringe perspective.
One of my favorite bits of harem manga logic is from the chapter before, because there's the chapter that introduces Sue, then Poppy runs away with Sue because Poppy is afraid Sue is going to get deported. And in this chapter, we get a return of the Americaboos. They're in a really well-made American truck and nearly commit vehicular manslaughter, because of course they do. They're on a bridge, and Sue is like stuck to the side of the bridge, which starts to crumble for some inexplicable reason.
Well, it's because they almost hit a little girl with the car, and Sue protected the little girl, acting like basically a gel cushion. The bridge starts crumbling because the Americaboos
It hits the side. But Sue is stuck to the crumbling part and is about to fall into the river and dissolve. Poppy can't hold her up, and she's about to fall into the river. Darling somehow gets the truck off of the bridge and into position in the river for Sue to fall into the river, into the bed of the
pickup truck.
Yeah, he drove the truck that was on the bridge, that Sue was falling off the bridge, or potentially around, because he seems to come from underneath the bridge.
Yeah.
Also, apparently the water Sue's falling into is like 2 inches deep because the wheels are not that submerged.
Because the wheels aren't submerged. Yeah, no, he can teleport the truck into a river and also magically make the water less deep, to the point where you kind of wonder if that would dissolve Sue anyway, because it's less water than the bathtub. It is such harem manga logic. It's so stupid.
I had no idea what was happening. I had to flip back going like, wait, where did this truck is this a different truck? No, it's the same truck. How did he get the driver out?
Yeah, because there's a shot where it shows the truck under the bridge where the bridge crumbled, and you see a little speech bubble coming out of the cab of Darlington saying, boy, it's a good thing I was able to drive the truck around that fast. And you can see the Americaboos on the bridge because apparently he pulled them out of the truck. When did he do this? This is like 4 seconds worth of panels. It doesn't make sense.
No, it's during
this
the
amount of time.
It's during the entire dramatic scene of Poppy desperately trying to keep Sue from falling into the water, and they're really selling it up like she's about to fall into the water, she's gonna die, she's thanking Poppy for being her friend. Oh no, it's so dramatic in the truck.
So dumb.
I'm just saying, if you had that amount of time, you could just pull Sue up like that.
Yeah, she falls because Poppy can't grip things with her wing claws. You have hands, darling.
It is very silly.
Yeah.
But anyway, they come back from this rescue attempt to find Agent Smith has already done the paperwork to get a new waterproof room installed. And Darling's just like, oh, wow, cool. I was worried there was going to be some problems because if you already know about this slime chick who's totally just with us now, that solves a lot of problems. I'm sorry, what? Oh no, this is a whole different. I am going to get yelled at for this invasive species. Like, if it's not something on my caseload, I'm going to pretend I didn't see anything. By the way, you're living with a mermaid now. What?
Well,
yeah, the girl in the wheelchair was a mermaid, to the shock of nobody.
And that's after all the shenanigans of Sue incapacitating the other girls because they think that Smith is going to take her away, so they flee with her.
Yeah, this is actually also where they really start having like Mia double down and like basically use the comedy beat of Mia takes something too far, karma punishes her, comedy ensues, and I really liked those jokes where Mia just like, you know, went up to 11 and then, you know, something collapsed out from under her. That was I feel when the series hit its comedy stride for like the regular, you know, chapter by chapter bits. And actually the humor in general largely was, you know, finding its footing in most ways. For all of the complaining we've been doing about how much it doesn't make sense, you know, like the characters are, it's one of those ones where it's like the characters are well enough written. They're not exactly winning any awards,
but they're fun. They're fine.
They have dynamics, and the dynamics are engaging enough for what it is, and it knows what it is, and it isn't asking you for any more investment than you know.
And this is when we're introduced to Merune the mermaid. And it's at this point where I can only assume that it's no longer down to just like flubs and paperwork. She's just pawning all these monster girls off on Darling because he's survived so far. That clearly makes him qualified.
Which makes me wonder, like, what exactly her caseload is, because it's just kind of
apparently massive.
Yes. Which
apparently whatever government the liminals have is just dumping people in Japan.
Yeah, which like raises questions. Usually there's a trial period, especially with how like relatively new this whole, like they're still feeling out like what kind of restrictions should they impose, what kind of accommodation should they impose, and now you're just like opening the floodgates to like, oh yeah, you could totally accommodate like 50 billion girls, right? Yeah.
That's exactly what I'm saying. Is this is a trial period, so that's why they have to go to host families. So clearly it must be like a very small sample size by the nature of being a trial period. Yet clearly there's enough of a population that clothing stores decide, yes, we should completely remodel to support liminal clothing. And I'm just like,
yeah, it's not adding up for me.
How do you do that?
Make the math work.
How do you support all liminals? Their body types are not the same. Like,
yeah, we have some lower body serpent types. We have fucking centaur types. We've got the slimes. It doesn't make.
Excuse me. The centaurs are very chaste.
But you're assuming that even still they're all the same size, which is just basically no.
There's the centaur types, which are slightly different than the centaurs because the spider girl is a centaur type.
I will say, speaking of clothing, I do think it's kind of cute and funny that the thing that they came up with for Sue is that she wears a raincoat. I enjoyed that bit.
That is funny, yeah.
Yeah, and somehow they sexualize the raincoat. I'm like, I don't know how I felt about that. They're just like, well, yeah, obviously.
I think Sue sexualizes the raincoat.
Yeah.
They could have gotten her a larger size, is all I'm saying.
There are a lot of cases where you could have gotten a larger size, could be said to most of the characters in this series.
Not for Centaurea.
Centaurea, like, legitimately probably wears, like, an extra, extra large, but because of her unrealistic, like, size of her chest, it just doesn't
proportions.
work.
Yeah, her perfectly realistic proportions.
Yeah, she's called a cow in like we mentioned earlier. There's puns. She doesn't get a lot of horse puns. She just gets straight up cow puns. Like
she also gets a lot of horse puns. And god, they're definitely going to introduce a cowgirl who's even bigger than Centaurea
Minotaur
at some point. A Minotaur, yeah. Well, didn't happen in our reading.
Yeah, right now we've been introduced to the mermaid girl,
who is immediately target number one of Mia.
First we have to go about like her introduction, because originally like we didn't even know that she was liminal. Like she was just like, oh, this is just a girl in a wheelchair, right?
Yeah,
I'm gonna help her.
And he was done so well that you're like, she's clearly a main character.
Yeah, designed character in a wheelchair. Yeah, probably mermaid.
Actually, paging back to that chapter, she's got really long sleeves on, so you can't see her fingers too clearly, but her fingers are webbed. And you can actually see the webbing in that if you're looking.
When I was initially reading it, clearly designed character in a wheelchair, probably mermaid was my immediate thought. I think I was also largely confused by a lot of the B plot of that chapter, as Matt was, because I was trying to like parse out the timeline, and I know I was actually doing that and not like saying that to cover it, because I remember specifically noticing the webbing on the fingers as I had gone through that chapter again. It's like, because she's got like the Lolita Goth style, and the frills are done like she has a particular way of holding her hands, and the frills are up in that chapter to hide the
webbed fingers, because she steeples her fingers all the time.
Yeah, it's a legitimately clever character introduction, because it's one of those ones where you know exactly where this is going, but it pulls it off.
Yeah.
See, and that just shows how differently we observe things, because I caught on to none of that. I legitimately saw that she was a civilian who just needed help, and whoa, she happens to be a mermaid. Okay.
She was way too designed to just be a random character. I'm sorry.
I also had the context of this is Japan, so I just have a different expectation.
Look,
that's fair.
Random Lolita Goth chick in a wheelchair.
Random Lolitas exist. So, I mean, it's just kind of like going in with that context. I'm like, yeah, I could totally believe there was a girl in a wheelchair who just happens to like Lolita fashion. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, Jacob, I know this might be hard for you to accept. Some people are actually in wheelchairs. They're not mythical creatures.
Jesus Christ.
Damn it.
Speaking of the wheelchair, though, Mia's enraged jealousy causes the destruction of the wheelchair at the beginning of the next chapter.
This is, we've gotten into the full swing of Mia doubles down, pain for Mia ensues.
Why are you cuddling up with that watery tart? I was just carrying her up the stairs because we don't have a wheelchair accessible second floor yet, so I have to do that. And now the wheelchair's broken, so I actually have to just carry her around all day.
Well, then, that makes sense. Sorry. Sorry, not sorry. She's still a tart. I hate her.
I really like how Mia's the only one who gets like really in. Like, I don't like how much time she's spending with her. The other two girls are like, yeah, I mean, I guess that is a little weird, but you know, you're really in on this. Do your thing, I guess. Like, normally they'd all three be like, how dare Darling pay attention to anyone but us? But they're like, no, we're gonna just let Mia take this one.
She has enough rage for the rest of them, yes.
I love the interactions between Mia and Centuria in this chapter, because Sarah's just like, seriously, what is your problem? It's another rival for Darling's hand in marriage. This is the first time I felt like there's real competition. You're too honor-bound, Poppy's still a child, and Sue's not even in the running. I'm sorry, what?
There's another case of Poppy, or actually, I think it's actually Centuria who mentions, isn't Poppy the same age as us? Crap, you're right! It's really funny. And the other thing Centuria keeps mentioning is that she's said she's not interested in marrying him, so I'm just gonna take her at her word because she seems nice. There is also a funny bit of Marrow like being like having a royal air about her that Centuria really appreciates.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're both like coming from like a point, like definitely a point of privilege or a certain stature in society. So that's where they kind of like awkwardly bond over.
Well, Marrow keeps asking if Darling has a girlfriend, which Mia cannot stand.
I'm just asking.
Because he keeps dodging the question. How about... Actually, no. He's not even dodging the question. Usually some ecchi comedy shenanigans end up preventing him from answering.
I mean, he also legitimately understands his situation. Like, he fully understands that if I were to say, oh no, he would have to answer for that. Oh yes. Oh my god, who is it?
Yeah.
Also,
kill that bitch.
The situation is genuinely vague right now because he did agree to date all the girls casually. So it's like, I don't have one right now, but I am kind of doing a romantic thing, if that's what you're asking. You've asked a very specific question that I can't give a specific answer to.
Of course, he doesn't say that because mermaids have a slightly slimy body, so she slips out of his arms, and that makes her bra fall off. So,
Yeah, that's the excuse that they give for taking her top off
I
regularly.
hate it when that happens.
Everyone has some kind of excuse for why their top comes off all the time.
fucking Mia sees this and immediately learns the wrong lesson. Is like, Sue, quick, slime me.
Slime me.
Oh my god, I loved Mia in this chapter because like she just doubles down, and it's so funny.
Oh no, darling, I got all slimed up. Oh, you should probably take a bath then. I think the one I ran this morning is still good.
Ew. The one you ran this morning?
Yeah, Mia realized she was in a harem manga this chapter and like tried to follow those rules. Little did she know that those rules have to be followed accidentally.
It is really funny. Yeah, the other thing that I thought was kind of funny is I think it was when Marrow and Centauria were bonding, because actually Centauria also is like, hey, you're asking him if he has a girlfriend a lot. What's up with that? You said you don't want to marry him. And she's like, oh, well, as a mermaid, I really like the book, The Little Mermaid. And my immediate reaction is, the Disney movie changed how that book ends, right?
Well, that's why she said the book, not
to
the
which
movie.
to which she specifically responds, "Oh yes, I do mean the book."
Well, no, that's the best part, because at first she just mentions the book and nobody else says anything. Like I'm saying to the page, the book ends differently from the Disney movie, right? And
she's saying, heck yes, I do, and I want that.
Yeah, no, it sets that up. And then much later in the chapter, it pays off that, yes, she knows exactly how the book ends.
Yeah.
How dare you, Jacob? How dare you question a woman and she knows what she wants?
She knows exactly what she wants.
Mia comes in here, finally confronts her, and she's just like, oh, no, Mia, you don't gotta worry about me. I am actually team you and Darling 100%. I'm on team be his side piece. I am aiming for second place. I understand how harems work.
I appreciate this girl. She's done her research and she knows what she wants.
She literally says at one point, I am fully in support of you and Beloved, just as long as you let me have an occasional affair with him, or a menage a trois.
I'm just saying, she's like full on, like, yeah, go ahead and marry him. I'll even be your maid of honor. Just fucking
I want a tragic romance. The love that can never be. Oh, it would be perfect.
The fantasy she has, I love. It's one of those behind a park bench scenes of Mia and Darling like making out, but Darling is holding hands with Marrow from behind the bench.
I love cuckfish so much.
That's it. Like, I completely was like, this had to be like, what is the title for this? It's some dare, but I don't know what it is.
Well, it's cuckoldry, but
I know, but what is that?
What dare is that? I have no idea. I have no idea of anything that's going on at this point.
I want to say NTR, but I think that has other implications that aren't necessarily this.
I love how the other girls are all listening to the bathroom door to hear this explanation, and Darling is too far away to catch anything except the screams and splashing. It's like, oh, they seem to be having fun. Are they finally getting along?
All right. Dang, if you were listening in behind a door and all you heard was screams and splashing, what would your thought be?
I don't know.
At a pool, I'd probably be like, they sound like they're having fun.
Yeah.
I mean, it's an indoor pool, right?
No, that was at the bath.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
They have the snake-sized bath and also the indoor pool for the mermaid.
Yeah, that's where I get confused. I'm like, which is which? Did they just like morph into like two different pools or two different baths? One's relatively cool because
one's
mermaid.
hot, one's cold.
Yeah,
because Mia almost
there's a metaphor in that somewhere.
being cold-blooded.
Yeah, that chapter was really fun. Let's have a not fun chapter after that one.
I don't know, Sam. I think I'm gonna need a break after that.
Well, you gotta cool off. Got all worked up.
I think so.
No.
I could use some water.
I just really don't want to talk about the next one.
Yeah, me neither.
Yeah.
Honestly. So what do you say, guys? Quick break, and we'll then get this over with.
Yeah, that sounds good to me.
All right, folks. We'll be right back.
We're going to talk about how funny and enjoyable the character dynamic of Mero, Mia, and Darlington are, right? We don't have to... That's what the rest of this episode's going to be about?
No.
No.
Well, I know what you're thinking. Man, there hasn't been enough blatant racism in this story yet. Don't worry.
Yeah, don't worry about it. We need some orcs in here.
Damn right. Orcs just come out of nowhere.
Yeah,
Well, I mean, not literally, but yes.
6 big pig boys come in and take over a dojin shop with guns.
And the
there's
fact
a character
they come in
who
like
looks...
stereotypically, like they come in as like antagonizing of just like, no, we're just here because we want our smut like legitimized.
There's a character behind the counter who looks suspiciously like Darlington, who I'm not 100% sure if it is or not. I don't think so.
It might also be the author's self-insert because he used to draw dojin, and his drawing of himself looks a lot,
a lot like the main character. Yeah, that tracks.
Mm-hmm. But the police
Imagine this is all happening to me.
Yeah, I don't know why this is the chapter you'd want to write yourself into. The actual worst chapter of this manga that we read.
Pioneer Orc Renaissance Kinsman take over this.
Yeah, I'll defend this because how it starts off is you've got a group of orcs who are essentially terrorists who have held a dojin shop hostage, with their end goal being they want the proliferation of orcs to be more prominent in dojins. They're like, yeah, we want more sexual categories featuring orcs. We want this. And then they get weird.
Mm-hmm.
Makes sense.
It's not even.
Why would you hold up a dojin shop? Like dojin shops don't control the narrative. You know what I mean? Like I just work here, man.
You're expecting logic from this is the problem. But no, I mean, like, here's what the real problem is. It starts off it starts off funny. It starts off doing a Monmu thing. That makes sense. And then it gets graphically violent to a mood-killing degree.
This isn't Helsing. You can't have your sex jokes, then your giant blood splatters, like...
And, like, that's actually a really good comparison. I was going to compare this to Helsing, too. Because the thing that bugs me is the reason why Helsing is able to get away with it is because from the first part of Chapter 1, it immediately says, here is what you can expect from this series. The level of violence and the level of unpleasantness in this chapter was just so out of left field. And it
needed a trigger warning or something.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. This chapter is so completely removed. I would not be surprised if this was like a side pilot for a spin-off series that ended up not going anywhere. So because this introduces an entirely new set of characters who do because essentially what this whole thing is
who do Miss Smith's job or Agent Smith's job apparently because she can't be bothered to do it.
Yeah, that's the punchline of this. And it's
essentially this whole thing is like a cop show teaser for yes, here's the bad guys, and then they're about to assault this girl. But then it turns out that she's part of the Mon Squad, a group of hot ladies who are also monsters who fight monsters. I keep saying monsters. They're liminal.
They're not really monsters. They're more supernatural. Like supernatural or not.
Well, they're zombie among them, like, because they have an ogre and they have a cyclops, but then
But
they
I
also
mean,
have
like, does supernatural include fantasy?
I mean, we have a zombie, so
yeah, it's weird. It's Monmu. It's just the problem is
it's
like, because like a lot of the places that this particular chapter go to, it's not weird, it's just unpleasant. Like that's sort of the line for me. Like that's because I mean, like it gets raunchy. The orcs are gonna do unsavory things to a female character. Like, no, that's not what you do, Monmu. Stay in your lane. This is not funny, or
yeah.
this is neither funny nor sexy. You've
I don't
ruined the
think
two
it's
things that you're good at.
I don't think it's trying to be funny. I think it's trying to be like, this was just a setup for them, because that character that is getting assaulted is revealed to be a secret agent who did this to get close to them. Like,
and yeah, and I'm sitting there like, I know they're gonna reverse this. There's no way that they're actually doing this level of awfulness. Like, and it's like, yeah, the characters getting transgressed on ultimately end up kicking the bad guy's ass. But it's like, it was so unpleasant to get to that point. Like, I wish this chapter didn't exist. This was easily the low point of the reading for me, because like it shouldn't have tried this, is I think the important element.
Well, I'm sure after all these years they have learned from this mistake and will never do it again.
Yeah.
or they made this a side series.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, this is honestly, I was thinking that the reason for this chapter was to introduce waifu characters that aren't explicitly part of the harem, because that's something that series like this will usually do. And this being a pitch for a different series does kind of make sense, but and then there's the other element of, a part of me kind of wanted to check out the anime because of this, because I feel like this is the kind of thing that would have gotten dropped, and it sort of makes me think maybe the anime smoothed over problems like this, but like, I don't know.
I'm gonna be honest, depending on who did it, I could see the anime doubling down on this scene.
Yeah, that would definitely be a reason for me to not get.
Well, because like Goblin Slayer got produced, and that's
true.
Yeah.
But yeah.
That being said, at least tonally, Goblin Slayer is upfront with what kind of degeneracy it is. Like,
yeah.
This is very out of left field. It's just such a whiplash after the previous chapter of lol funny cuckfish.
Also, it skims over the one thing of like how insane this treaty they signed is. These people are holding up an office building, or they're holding
guns.
up they are threatening to shoot people. And what we hear from the police, if they even shoot people, they can't do anything about it. Like, that's the thing.
And like that
the
point,
police have no power.
Up to that point, it's played as a joke, and it's like, but then someone does get shot, and the mood is immediately killed, because they're not like funny manga shot, they're shot. And I don't care that she's the zombie girl and gets up later. That doesn't make getting there any less unpleasant.
Like, the tone of this series, you would have expected when they accidentally shot one of the hostages, would have been all of them freaking out, going like, oh no, this got way too real too quick. And then the joke would be, aha, she wasn't actually hurt, she was zombie girl. But they play it up like, yep, that's what the humans get for messing with us. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like, she's really dead for the longest time.
She is really dead.
Well, yeah.
The entire time.
Technically. And I mean, like, to be fair, there are two other places where the series, there are two other places later in our reading that I want to compare to this moment. One case where it does it wrong again, and one place where it does it right. So I think, we have the consensus that this was, Monmu, stay in your lane and don't do stuff like this, please, because it gets resolved by the pitch for another series team beating up the orcs, and they get arrested.
Yeah, because we got doppelganger girl, zombie girl, ogre girl, and cyclops. And can we just momentarily reference the cyclops is the one with the sniper rifle?
Yes.
Apparently her one eye is really, really, really good.
But
She just doesn't have depth perception.
No depth perception.
They even call this out.
All of the individual girls in this are fun. It's just their introduction is very unpleasant.
Yeah. So perhaps we should move on then, because
please.
I do believe we've said our piece about that bit. The next bit is weird in the way it in that sort of uncomfortable, funny, cringe way that Monmu is actually good at.
Because Darling has a cold.
I love how Smith bursts in, and almost immediately she just admits, "Yeah, I'm doing this to get out of paperwork. I don't care."
Oh, what? He's sick? Well, better quarantine him. Can't run any risk that he hasn't caught some kind of liminal disease that could just destroy the human, biology. So we're gonna lock him in a room, and none of you can have any contact with him until he gets better. What? Except for the slime girl, because I really don't care.
She says something about her biology makes her like she's can't like transmit or can't like contract whatever he has or something.
The plot says this is a Sue chapter, so she's immune to the imaginary disease that Darling-kun doesn't have. It's really what it comes down to. Because there's Agent Smith over there bumming coffee off of poor sick Darling-kun. Like,
I mean, one would think that Sue would be the worst person for this. She is literally all body fluids. She is a walking vector.
According to the logic of this manga says that's just no, not correct.
After point, she is also one giant cool compress. So
yes,
actually, kind of is how this plot resolves, as it turns out.
Yeah.
This entire thing is just a setup for sexy scenes with Sue, because all the girls are not able to directly contact Darling-kun, so they each tell Sue exactly how they would make him feel better. And because Sue is real good at mimicking, she goes in and does exactly what they would do. But because she's made of gelatin, does it wrong, but right?
Well, she also does it wrong because all of the girls are horny idiots that that
don't know
weird.
How to. Yeah. It's the rest of the girls who make it weird really fast. It's really funny.
Mm-hmm.
Because, for example, Centauria, she's a weeb, so you have to check temperature by touching foreheads together, and then she gets bashful really fast. It's really
she gets
funny.
bashful. She gets bashful pretending to do that, with Sue shapeshifted into looking like Darling. And so Sue perfectly mimics her right down to the
bashful pulling away.
Yeah, which saves his life because touching foreheads, she's still liquid. He just slurps inside her and starts drowning. I should have phrased that differently.
Manga sure didn't.
Yep.
Yeah, no, and there is also a bit of a funny through line where Darling-kun realizes very quickly what's going on, and he starts guessing which of the horny idiots talks to this.
I really like this. I really like the one with Meru, because it's like, oh well, we mermaids have herbal baths that we use to that we soak in order to cure illnesses. So here, just bring this pool into the room and have him soak in that herbal water. Okay, so how long do I need to stay in here? You should feel better after a week.
If I'm in water this cold a week, I'll be dead. But yeah, we learn that Sue has had empath powers all along, I guess, and the punchline for the chapter is she expresses her love for Darling-kun in a fully complete sentence that was not mimicked from anybody.
We also get my favorite Mia's cooking is terrible joke.
This is a really good joke.
It's just plain rice. It's just a plain thing of rice, and Meru goes to taste some of it, and she bites it, completely bland expression, and then the entire background becomes a scene out of The Little Mermaid, where the sea witch gives the mermaid a potion to grow legs, and describes how the process is agonizing, and you will know true hell.
Well, I mean, that's true to the original book. I mean, every step you take feels like a bunch of knives going into your legs. It's pretty normal.
And it's just Meru's perfectly bland expression the entire time.
She drops to the floor, foaming. And then when Darling-kun opens the pot, because Mia's problem is she put every white food she could think of into the pot apparently, and when Darling-kun opens it, wait, this is Mia's cooking. Opens it, realizes the pot is empty. You ate it all, didn't you, Sue? She nods. Good girl. And he gives it.
See, Sue's looking out for you. She knows what's up.
She really do.
Look, I'm just saying, Sue is the safest option to wife.
She's like, I don't even understand people, but I do know that this is probably poisonous.
Yep.
But yeah, of course, it was nothing but a cold, and it passes quickly. And hey, why is everyone breaking quarantine? Because I'm not sick anymore. Stop drinking my coffee and leave.
We do get a rather sweet scene, though, of the reason he got sick was because Sue got stuck out in the rain, and he had to go save her, and, well, she can't go into the rain or she'll dissolve, so he puts the umbrella over her, and he got soaked.
Yeah, this is one of the is another one of those ones where because like Sue hadn't really been amorous towards Darling-kun up to this point, but like at that point she professes her love for him because empathic link, I guess. She could always just do that. It does the work of at least justifying it as much as you would expect from a series like this, and I appreciate it when series do that. The characters aren't cardboard cutouts. They're not exactly award-winning, groundbreaking characters, but they at least have something to them.
And then our final punchline. It ended up that Smith was the one who got sick.
She deserves it.
She does.
So have you guys thought there's any like weird niche fetishes we haven't checked off yet? Because I think this next chapter happens.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, this is one of the chapters I mentioned before when we were talking about the one that we don't like. And this is actually the one I think that they did right. Because there's a key difference in this chapter relative to the other two times where they get, like, really, like, not fun, uncomfortable. There's a difference between this chapter and the other two. Because the manga itself very directly frames it that you're supposed to... Like you're supposed to be unhappy with what's going on. It doesn't really do that with that chapter, but this one, it's from the start. It sets you up to be in the position of the girls who pretty much know this guy is a creep from the start.
Well, the setup for this chapter is the Harpy girl's about to lay an egg.
And then the comedy beat that is going to happen happens.
And then people having to once again affirm, like, you don't understand. Eggs can be fertilized and unfertilized. Because everyone freaks out. Like, chickens.
It's unfertilized, you horny idiots.
Yeah.
Mia forgets that Pappy is an adult the same age as her.
Again.
Because I think Mia's just actively, constantly trying to bring that up to just cut her out of the running. Like,
I can see Mia doing that.
Oh, it's 100% trying to demean her. And I'm like, no, you just want to antagonize her for some reason, just because she's not as endowed as you are.
She needs that body shape to fly. Because this series is so logical like that.
Yeah, but I mean, think about it this way. She doesn't have a weakness about, like, cold water and whatnot, and she can freaking fly. So, I mean, who wins here?
But yeah.
So anyway, a creepy documentary crew comes up because they have heard that a harpy is laying an egg, and they want to get a video up for it. And
I mean, I don't blame them, but it is very disgusting.
For totally scientific reasons.
Yeah, it's not completely 100% scientific. But again, I mean, if you had the opportunity, this is a harpy. Something that you previously didn't think existed.
I'm just going to point out, I have no problem with a documentary crew wanting a film of this. I think Agent Smith should do her goddamn job and make... Apparently these were just random people off the street who said, hey, yeah, we're official, don't worry about it.
I know, that's like a trending theme is, I think Agent Smith needs to do her goddamn job. Like, that's just a trend.
The weird, creepy camera crew pervs on all the other girls. And as Jake alluded to, Darling and all the other girls are like, can we get rid of them, please? But they keep being accommodating, to be polite, and if you could stop asking such weird questions, that would be great.
There's a level of like the manga wants you to be as uncomfortable as the characters who are experiencing it. And that little difference, it makes it so much more readable. You're not just sitting through this unpleasantness. You know where this is going. They're going to get their asses kicked by the end, you know? And
Yep.
and it makes it so much more palatable in that way.
Yep. And the the reason the weird documentary director is acing all of his persuasion checks by essentially on the fly making stuff about I'm just really dedicated to science and increasing the understanding between humans and liminals. Even if I have to incur your anger, it's worth it for the advancement of our two cultures coming together. These are all totally legitimate reasons for why I'm doing this. So, hey, Mia, do you wear panties? Oh, is that your shed snakeskin? Can I have that? That's super expensive.
Immediately resonate with her and her reaction to the shed snakeskin. I'm like, that's super weird.
That is really gross. I will say though, as defensive of this chapter as I have been being, the one thing that did bug me was the fact that he kept nat 20ing all of his persuasion checks. That did stretch the suspension of disbelief, which I think is the kind of the key here.
I think it's because he was just berating against, like, he was a professional and he was also older than all of them. So, I mean, like, I can totally believe they feel pressured to, like, comply.
Yeah, like, because I totally believed he was, like, fast talking and was, like, constantly like, no, yeah, I've got my camera crew here. We're just here to do a job. I mean, Agent Smith already signed off on us, so we've got her authority. She never apologizes for this either, which is a weird thing. But, like,
in other words, Agent Smith needs to be held accountable because she did sign up on this.
My suspension of disbelief actually comes from how stupid Darling is in this chapter.
Yeah, that's sort of what I mean.
He's cool with it, but I don't even care how he interacts with the crew. I care that the fact he thought Pappy was going to do this while wearing underwear. Like, he was legitimately like, what? We have to take them off? I'm like,
you have to take her underwear off.
Out of there.
I have to say, I'm not surprised, and this is only anecdotal, like, evidence, like, sexual education in Japan is not that great. Yeah.
It could have even been a willful ignorance of not wanting to consider that part.
Yes, but yeah.
But yeah, no, I basically, right as it's about to cross a line into being too unpleasant, that's when you get the release of the tension phrasing, and Sue uses her empath powers to speak the director's mind, at which point they get beaten the fuck up as they deserve. And it's very, again, phrasing's very satisfying.
Yeah, because Darling throws the egg at him, and the director's like, no, it can't smash, and goes, and then he punches him in the face with the egg, and he's just like, you idiot, that was a chicken egg from the fridge.
And like, they do even set up in the beginning that he had just gotten eggs. Like, yep. This chapter was fairly well crafted for the kind of trashy romp nonsense that the series is. I appreciated it very much.
I also appreciate that at the end, they're kind of talking to Pappy like, hey, what do you want to do with that egg? Well, it's unfertilized. That guy was worth a lot of money? That sounds pretty cool. Like, Pappy's she doesn't care. It's,
You don't understand. Like, can I say this on the podcast? Like, essentially, it's like normal menses, period. She's like, I don't freaking care. I'm just going to think it's kind of weird, but whatever.
They never do quite explain what they ultimately do with that egg, which is probably for the best.
No, it's implied that Mia
hard-boiled it. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's framed in such a way that if you, that was my read of it, but it's framed in such a way that you can ignore that if you so choose. But it's a good comedy beat to end on. Because the other thing is Poppy mentions, oh, I put it in the fridge next to the regular eggs, and somebody's like, Mia, why do I keep saying Mia? Poppy, someone's gonna hard boil it, and there's Mia over the pot, already on it.
I mean,
even I can boil an egg.
Gotta prove her cooking skills somehow. Yeah. Again, tying into, I feel bad for Mia, but also she just grates me in so many ways. she's trying to prove herself, like, honestly, guys, and she's honestly like, I understand how she feels threatened. She's like, it's just supposed to be Darling, Kun, and me, and you guys keep on just coming, and I'm just like, wow, Sam, that's inappropriate.
He beat me to it, so I can't really judge.
Yeah.
Hey, it's not a race.
God damn it.
We cut to Skis Ball director in a much cobwebbed apartment, spinning something on a spool. Gee, I wonder what this could be. Hello, Spider Lady.
We have time for one more girl for the harem.
I actually like Ranchera. She's a fun character.
The characters are not the problem. There are cases where Monmu will delve into subject matter that it has no business dealing with, is my least favorite part of it. And if you try to apply logic to this series, you will go cross-eyed very quickly.
You say that, but Rackanera is like a black market biological parts dealer who has no qualms with murder. Like, she is very atypical for the series at this point.
That is true.
She was allowing the director to spin her arachne spider silk for money, and was then very willing to. And then as soon as she heard about a potential better mark, as director is grumbling about the situation that just happened to him, she's like, ooh, a much more interesting human. Well, I'm sick of you anyway. You're a real asshole. Spins him in the spider web.
Leaving him to die.
Yep.
If he didn't have a cell phone to call the authorities, which fortunately means that he got arrested, but Monmu and its logic leaps. For some reason, she kidnaps Darling-kun. I don't quite understand what the intentions here are, but it's a thing that happens.
She's got hang-ups about being racist by some humans. And so she thinks that...
She thinks that Darling is... She heard that he genuinely gave up the money of an egg to, like, protect, like, a liminal. And she's like, well, clearly he's faking it because humans are bad. So that's why she's kidnapping him to prove her point.
You know, here's another bit where, like, as much as they've had the Americaboo cartoon racist characters, they actually did a good job of handling a way more realistic kind of prejudice story of there's something so organic about, you know, like, here's this family who's going to take in, you know, someone who is different and strange to them, and then they can't handle it, and it's awful for everybody. Like, that's so much more real than the Americaboo cartoon characters. Not that we've seen the last of them. We'll get to that.
I like the idea that apparently these housing assignments were given out completely at random. Like, you wouldn't even know what size of creature to be expecting.
Yeah.
Rackanera is the size of a car and also a spider. Like,
so, like,
I mean, I appreciate it.
You need to account for the verticality. She is attractive, but also,
I mean,
Sam, you're on air.
Sam, you
control yourself.
You all play D&D with me. Hey. You know how I
line. Spiders all over the world.
Spiders everywhere.
As unrealistic as this series is, because it doesn't care. But, you know, it's a good character moment for Rackanera. It really does a good job of characterizing, and it's a very, like, organic and realistic way of you know, like, introducing that idea of, like, more realistic tension, not of the caricature of racism, but an actual moment of genuine prejudice from you know, someone who probably didn't think they'd have that reaction. Almost surely not, unless Smith is that bad at her job. But again, I want to compliment the series, so I'm going to assume that's legitimately possible, but I'm going to, for the sake of the story, assume that that's not the case.
Well, you see, what happened was Smith's kind of dyslexic, so she was looking through her notes and she's just like, oh yeah, these people are arachnophiliacs, right? They'll be perfect. Oh no, arachnophobics. Whoops.
Whoops, Daisy.
I hate to say it, but that is depressingly plausible.
But anyway, Darling tries to wholesome main character his way out of this, but he's just like, no, I'm sure you're good on the inside. It's a shame those people didn't really appreciate you for who you are. And she's like, you humans are all the same. You would never find a creature like me pretty. And he's just like, actually, I've got a thing for legs. And you got 8 of them, girl.
You only like the human part of me. Actually, those legs are kind of sexy. And she just starts laughing. Oh my god, you pervert! And like with that tone of voice.
It's a legendary panel. Just the
legs.
Venture is great. she's hilarious. And right as they're starting to actually like bond over this shenaniganery, the cops show up, and she's getting all gloomy again, thinking that he sold her out, and this is what I get for thinking I can trust humans again. Meanwhile, Darling's freaking out because he thinks he's in trouble for punching the director in the face. So he goes to turn
himself in.
For non-comedy reasons. Actually, a panel I just really enjoyed was he's saying that he's about to go turn himself in, and Ranchera says, "Don't you think they're talking about me?" Huh? No. Why? Just completely did not even consider it. Reflexive. What? No. Oh, he's actually like not putting on airs. He's
just dumb.
He's just dumb and kind of trying to help me. Oh my god, that's so cute.
Yeah, she does have a very that's so cute kind of affection towards him.
Look, Rhaenyra is a bad girl, and she is ready to play that role in this harem.
Yeah,
she is extremely ready to play that role in this harem.
And of course, at the end, Smith is like, "Okay, I guess you're going to take care of her now." And final panel, Sarah, Bia, and Meru all like, "I sense the appearance of another rival."
I think this is actually the point when Meru overtly says, "Look, I'm shooting for second specifically. I'm not okay with this either."
They're all truly defeated now because he now has the Legman's ultimate goal right there available.
This sort of dovetails into a Centaria chapter where, because she's all, proper and stuff, disappointed in herself for, judging Rhaenyra on her appearance, which she knows she's doing and she hates herself for, but she also just genuinely doesn't like her in apropos of nothing.
She also just finds her very grating.
Which Rhaenyra has a lot of personality, that's fair. I'd like to say that Rhaenyra is more forward than the other characters and just tries to jump Darlington's bones, but let's be honest, this is no different from any of the other ones. So
she attacks him on the toilet. He goes to take a poop, and she just drops down from the ceiling and webs him up. She's very good at the webbing up.
Get him when he's most vulnerable.
Yeah. She's very good at the webbing up thing. Mia tries to attack her at one point, and immediate next panel, just webbed up on the ground, struggling to get free. Like,
also, the way she webs people up is bondage knots, in case you were in any doubt there.
Yeah, she's really into bondage. Show of hands, who's surprised?
Nobody? All right.
This bit goes on for a while until Centaria basically breaks down and just blasts through a wall carrying Darlington away. This is where we get into the, Centaria mentions out loud the stuff of, I know I'm judging her on her appearance, and that's really bad, and I feel awful about it.
Like how the moral of this chapter is kind of weird, too, because it's Rhaenyra going no, you're right. You should not like me for how I look and what I do, because I'm a bad person. That's fine.
Well, that's actually the thing, though, because the beginning of this chapter I like, the end of this chapter I like, because Rhaenyra actually is more subtle about it. The reason why she is like, yes, I will accept your penance, because the part where Centaria was judging her on her appearance was legitimately unfounded. Centaria just doesn't like her personally. They're not friends. And that's what she was saying it's okay for. And I really like the subtlety of that, and also the end gag I enjoyed for reasons. Then there's the conflict section of this chapter, where here's the other part where Monmu does it wrong. Monmu, please stop doing actual crimes and things. Because that scene was very, very uncomfortable to sit through. As cool as Rhaenyra showing up and literally scaring the lights out of the Americaboos. Her moment was cool. What was happening immediately before made me very I'm not enjoying this uncomfortable.
I'm just
'cause-
wondering why these two Americanaboos are just constantly going around doing racist crimes. Like, this must be their entire week. It's just them.
I know, it's the same two people, and it's just like, is this your day job? Like, what else do you do?
Considering the negotiations of this treaty with Japan, it sure is weird. The only two racists who are upset about it
don't have a day job. I completely see how this works. They have nothing else to do because no one else will hire them. I can't imagine why.
You know what? Fair assessment.
Okay, here's the thing. I don't think any of the liminals have work visas. There's the next chapter, which is weird. But, like, we never see one working is the thing. And they always have to be with their host family. So I don't think they've gotten to that point yet.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, there is Kobold Girl in the last chapter we read.
Don't know what's up with that. I think that's more so that they're making that one's weird. I don't know.
They're setting up a bit. Look, people who have views like that and are that quick to express them in that way tend not to do well with employers. Just saying. I agree with Jay's assessment in this case. But yeah, I think again, it's one of those it's sort of like the bit with Poppy's egg, where it's like there was actually some effort put into this because it's okay that you don't like me personally. You don't have to be friends with everybody. You know, I appreciated that because that was really well done. I just kind of wish that the middle of the chapter wasn't the way it was.
But the final chapter that we read for our adventures, such as they are, is despite the fact that all of these accommodations have been made to Darling's home in order to accommodate the girls, it's still not large enough for them to actually do like exercise things, and they can't like go outside to do that because of this stupid treaty. So they all have to go to the experimental liminal gym.
Well, not all of them.
Oh yeah,
only the ones that put on a little extra weight, which Pappy and Sue and Arachnera didn't.
So it's Mia and Meru and Centauria that have to go. And they go to Sports Club Kobold.
It's not the D&D Kobold. It's the like traditional Germanic Kobold, as in like old folkloric. Yeah, it's that was.
Is
that was
it bad that the first thing I thought about when we were reading this chapter was I thought about Sam and his obsession with kobolds?
Well,
hey.
So the reason for that actually is Japanese culture got their kobolds not from like D&D and like that whole old school where it was more lizard based. They got it more from what's the name of the game? It's from the video game, I want to say Wizard, which is like a kind of different thing. So those had the like Germanic dog because that was more like a European fantasy video game. And that's why when you see kobolds in Japan, they're always the dog people.
I guess it tracks because they have a pretty strong, like, I don't want to say German presence, but like they still very much like several of their loanwords are actually very German. And it was really interesting, like how German culture has permeated Japan. It's ridiculous.
It's also because tabletop gaming isn't as big there, but video games were huge. So the old Windows games of like Wizard, that role-playing game, that's like one of the first ones, I think. And in that has the dog-like kobolds. And now whenever you see like generic fantasy kobolds in like your isekais, they're always dogs.
It's just interesting what kind of permeated the Japanese consciousness.
Well, and to some extent, it's also kind of interesting because that's neither the dog-esque kobolds nor the lizard-esque kobolds are quite exactly like the original Germanic folklore, but the dog-esque ones are actually a little bit closer. So it's sort of interesting just how sometimes culture permeates in weird ways.
Well, it's because in kobolds have always been servants of dragons in D&D. They've just gotten more and more draconic over time.
Yeah,
because of that association. Yeah,
the exchange of culture is fascinating, and that's why we need this idiotic treaty that makes no sense, I guess, or something. I don't know.
I'm just saying, this treaty was signed in such a way I wouldn't be like if there was just a bunch of giants waiting outside of Japan with giant clubs going like, hey, sign the treaty. Do it. You know, I'm joking. I'm joking, but that's actually what happened with MacArthur. So, not that unusual. Wait, no.
Guys, how do we deal with this? I don't know. We haven't finished the mechas yet.
But yeah, back on the current chapter.
Yeah, they go to the gym that is supposed to cater to liminals of all body types. They try to use the treadmills, except they are not sized properly for the centaur and are not.
Lamias don't have legs, and mermaids can't even walk, much less run.
Yep.
They do have a pool, fortunately, and that's what we immediately go to because, of course, we do swimsuits.
We get to the pool, and everyone's having a good time. We need to have some sort of
briefly about the fact that Sarah has to wear a swimsuit, and she establishes it just for aesthetics. Like,
basically,
your entire horse body needs to be completely covered with a bottom, and she's just like, well, technically, it doesn't just the back half of the horse, but can you imagine what that would look like? And they're like, ooh, scandalous. And I'm like, I guess.
She has a tail, but she has a tail. Like, what?
Yeah, she doesn't. She doesn't need a bottom, but whatever.
I'm just saying, like, this raises more questions now that you bring it up. I'm like, are people sexualizing horses? Like, is that the thing?
Look,
Yes.
It's
we
really
brought up other
weird.
species laws.
I don't need to ask this. I know they already are.
I rescind my question.
Yes. I was thinking out loud and I regret it.
Look, the important thing is we all get in the pool and everyone's having a good time swimming around.
Mero and Mia get into a competition that Centauria gets begrudgingly dragged into.
No, Centauria doesn't get begrudgingly dragged into it. She wants to be a part of this competition. The other two are just ignoring her.
Well, that's the best part, because she's being very do I have to do this? And it's like, no, they're ignoring you. You could just choose not to, but she participates anyway. Like, just say it out loud, Centauria. The kobold girl decides to be the announcer for this event, and she has a little label that says announcer, and next to her is sitting Darling-kun, labeled as the prize.
Because whoever wins gets to do whatever they want to Darling. And Sarah says, I demand to race as well. Why must I shoe myself in? Because horse puns. The race does entirely focus on Meru and Mia. Eminem, you might even, if you will.
I will not.
And it's actually fairly tense and enjoyable, like little action scene.
They have a back and forth.
Like, Meru is, of course, naturally a great swimmer, being a mermaid, but you forget that Mia is like 7 meters long, so she is able to just spring off of the wall and cover a vast amount of distance just by stretching out. Unfortunately, she loses it all by belly flopping and being stunned for several seconds.
So Meru is faster into the first turn, but then
Mia can just swim backwards. She doesn't need to turn.
Yeah, and because she is very, very long, she doesn't have to swim as far to get from one end to the other, because it's 2 laps. And, it's getting to the tense conclusion of the race. And then all of a sudden, Mia realizes, oh no, even though it's a heated pool, it's still too cold for me. And she starts sinking.
And it's like, all right, it looks like Meru is going to win. And Meru's like, oh, wait a minute, this is chlorinated water. Oh my God.
And she also starts sinking. But
that was actually something I thought when they got in the water. It's like, this has to be chlorinated. It's like, Meru has gills. Like, she's amphibious, but
that was one of the things that, like, one of the concerns I had initially, but was eventually justified, obviously. But it was just like, how is this working? She's literally ingesting chemicals.
There does seem to be a bit of a through line with Meru where it's like, wait, do you realize the implications of that? And then the manga will proceed to say, yes, I do know the implications of that. I'm glad you noticed.
And Darling's like, okay, you two are both killing yourselves. I'm calling this off now. But how will we decide who won? Oh, Sarah won like 5 minutes ago.
She's standing outside of the pool, looking disapprovingly at their stupidity. And then the other thing that ends up happening is that she gets the prize, and she wants the lewdest thing of all. We haven't mentioned this, but one of the important character traits of her is she's the lewdest of all because her thing is hand holding.
Ooh, that's super lewd. Is hand holding with any random dude?
No, it's hand holding with
No.
your master.
That's kinky. I'm adding that to my list.
They're walking home holding hands, and Sarah is she's blue screening. I love it.
I'm gonna be honest, not as lewd as Call of the Night made hand holding.
You are right.
That's very true. Call of the Night is just a different level.
And we end on my actual favorite joke of this chapter, which it starts off with, all right, so Ranchera, you're gonna be fine taking care of Papi and Sue, right? And it's like, oh yes, I can't wait to see what games I'll play with them. And then last thing, they are both being rambunctious, and she's like, I'm so tired, please come home.
Save me.
If they wanted to burn calories, they could have tried keeping up with these two. But thus brings us, at long last, to the end of our reading. And so we must ask the seminal question, favorite character? Despite the fact that she showed up right at the end and hasn't had a lot of screen time, I really do like Ranchera. she's a lot of fun. She's just so much fun. And her like actual plot elements are a bit more engaging than the other girls. So yeah, I think she might be she's my favorite character, other than Smith, of course. Smith is great.
Yeah.
She's just
What
chaos.
we're calling it now, Sam? Plot elements?
Elements.
Yes.
Yes.
Mm-mm.
So Matt, favorite character?
I mean, if we're going by plot elements, Pappy is pretty great. Got them talons. She's fun. She goes around doing cool things. Honestly, yeah, Pappy is fun. She doesn't have the like mean, like competitive streak that a lot of the other ones have, where they're constantly infighting. And then also Maro, I really like, because she knows what she wants, and that's second place, and she is, frankly, more likely to get second place than anything else.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fun. Jay, favorite character?
I feel like I've already said this, but Rashnera, for obvious reasons. I can't really explain why, but there's just something about Arachna that I just love, and I also love her, obviously, her personality as well. Like, she seems to be
Yeah, and her
very
plot elements.
Yes, the plot elements. Yes, plot. Love her, but I also have to say that I love Meru too as well. Just because and I think the commonality here is they're fully aware of their position in this entire like dialogue, and they're fully accepting of it and fully transparent. Whereas the others, I feel like a lot of the friction comes from the fact that they don't realize what's going on. Well, I mean,
At least they perform not to understand.
yeah, but I mean, the fact is that these two completely go into it like, yeah, I know this is a harem anime. Yeah, I'm gonna get what I can out of this. Yep.
Yeah, I think that is a big appeal of Ragnara, that she's like, yeah, I know what this is. I don't care.
And Jacob, favorite character?
I kind of have a bit of a sort of like two-layer answer, because on the whole, I would say Mia. But the thing is, I really love doubling down Mia, and she wasn't really that character until it wasn't even when the harem started expanding. It was actually further in than that. It was like halfway through Sue's introduction plot when they really started utilizing her character really well. And I really liked that version of Mia. That was the thing that made me laugh by far the most. Harlan Kun is actually a fairly well-written character for the kind of character he is. Not groundbreaking, but like honestly in some ways more memorable than a lot of protagonists of this kind of story. But for the times when, Mia isn't, it's not even that she's characterized differently. It's that the story is using her in a different way. The times outside of that, Centauria is a fun character. I like her gimmick, and Mero and Rhaenyra are also, of course, really funny. So how can you not love them? But I would say either Mia or Centauria, depending on what point of the story you're talking about.
All right. And the most important question in any harem series is best girl.
This is hard.
This is a hard choice, yeah.
And by hard, I mean not hard at all. Centauria, obviously.
Ooh, solid choice. Very solid. I'm gonna go with Mia. For reasons.
For reasons, I see. I see.
Yes. Close follow-up is Mero.
So what you're saying is she's your second place.
You know it.
Wait, yeah. Mero can't be best girl by definition because she doesn't want to be.
Exactly. That's the power.
She knows what's up.
So best girl. You know, I'm gonna take long odds on this one. Sue. I think Sue's got something the other girls don't, and that's initiative and the ability to go against the law.
Yep.
Powerful choice.
That's a good choice, yeah.
And Jacob.
Gosh, for completely different reasons, either Rhaenyra, because she seems like one of the more mature and intelligent of the group, and kind of like her for that, because a lot of these folks are kind of dumb, and that has caused problems, as we've seen. But Centauria I also like a lot. I think the hand holding and the closet weeb stuff is really adorable. And then also Mero, second place, obviously. How can you not?
That is the only correct answer. And would you continue reading? I don't know. Honestly, the high points were great and a lot of fun. And if I could get like a curated selection of those chapters, I don't think I'd be missing too much. I'm just gonna have to give a generalized no, but like if somebody had like a list of the greatest hit chapters, sure. That's my wishy-washy answer.
Yeah, I kind of have to second that, just because, like you and I both said, it's kind of hentai with extra steps. I mean, I feel like I either need to know what is front and center or something that would draw me into this, like, focus my attention. Otherwise, probably not. I will say, getting ahead, I enjoyed this, but would I, on my own continue reading this just out of like interest of the direction of the plot or the characters? Probably not.
What about you, Matt?
Speaking as someone who has, I believe, up until volume 12 shrink wrapped in his closet somewhere. Holy hell!
Pretty definitive answer there.
If I had to choose between this and 100 Girlfriends to read more of, because they're basically the same kind of genre, this is weird, but it doesn't hit the like levels of insanity that make me want to come back that 100 Girlfriends had, where I'm like, I gotta see where this train wreck goes. Like here, I'm just like, I'm pretty sure I know where this train wreck goes. Cool.
And Jacob.
Hard no. It crossed a line for me a couple of times. I probably wouldn't have finished reading if it wasn't the designated reading section. I will say though, I am interested in the watching the anime, because I'm curious, because like, as Matt mentioned, maybe they double down. I really hope they don't. But I feel like there is a good story here. Because again, I really, really loved Mia when she was doubling down and wacky bad things were happening to her and everyone was wondering why she's so stupid. Like that was just hilarious to me. And there's just enough effort in this for me to see, this could actually make something of itself, but it's not going there, and it goes in play. Like, I don't want to deal with the landmines is really what it comes down to. So basically I'm interested in checking out the anime. As soon as I find a landmine there, then never again Monmu for me.
Fair.
I will say I wouldn't be terribly disappointed if we had another goofy episode like this one, but I feel like there are other better series that we could put in place of this, like 100 Girlfriends, for example. There are other series that could go better here, so...
It's not like this genre isn't a dime a dozen, that we could also find
Yeah.
something else with a different weird premise.
Yeah, with a different gimmick that hopefully has less landmines.
We also have to think about, like, for the time, like, how prevalent was this genre? I feel like it was pretty prevalent even then,
Yeah.
but I don't know. You know?
Yeah, because there have been other Monster Girl series since then.
In other words, we know you perverts are out there.
There's a market for it. Yeah, no,
Yes.
so God damn it, Sam.
Look, I didn't get in half as many of those jokes as I expected myself to, so...
That's fair. Yeah, so almost entirely on the back of there's probably other things that we could be doing in this slot instead. Yeah, probably not.
Yes, thank you everyone once again for listening to the Over Manga Cast.
We're so sorry for all of that.
You never apologize for anything.
Remember to follow us on all your social medias where we are at Over MangaCast, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And of course, check out our website, overmangacast.com.
We also have episodes up on YouTube where you can do all the regular YouTube stuff of like commenting and subscribing.
And as always, we appreciate reviews in any and all form, iTunes, Spotify, sending us an email, overmangacast@gmail.com. Love hearing any feedback about what you liked about episodes, or, you know, series you'd like us to read, or maybe even revisit in the future, as we're going into a little bit of a revisit spell with Sam. What are we returning back to first?
We're heading back into the world of Blue Period, reading chapters 13 through 25. So if you're keeping up with the show, read that for next week, and we'll see you all on Thursday. Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Okay, so we got to get all these monster girls back over the border, or else they're going to really crack down on us. This isn't going well.
Yeah, I'll get the truck.
Oh, we're
Wait,
recording.
yeah, cut the audio. Cut the audio.
Ah!